I'm Carolyn Raffensperger. I'm the Executive Director of the Science and Environmental Health Network, and I've done some work on the rights of future generations that arose out of our work on the precautionary principle. And the precautionary principle is a way of making decisions about environmental or public health policy that tells us that we need to take action to prevent harm in the future. And what was so surprising about the precautionary principle is that it was future-oriented. It encompasses an ethic, and we wanted to understand what that ethic was, and it is to prevent suffering. And out of the work that we did on the precautionary principle, which our indigenous allies described as the seventh generation rule, that it was making decisions with the seventh generation in mind, we decided that we could build a legal framework around the rights of future generations to inherit a habitable planet. And we have some wonderful background ideas that give us hooks in U.S. law to carry out the rights of future generations. For instance, we have laws that establish national parks, and it says that we are to leave them unimpaired to future generations. And then we have ways of taking care of children who cannot speak for themselves in a court of law. For instance, we will establish guardians of future generations or guardians for children who cannot speak for themselves. And that idea is something that we can put into place for future generations to come. So we have those kinds of ideas already here that we can employ to recognize the rights of future generations to inherit a habitable planet. Well, Hungary and Wales have both done really remarkable things to recognize the rights of future generations. Israel also did some years ago where they created a commissioner that would evaluate legislation for its impact on future generations. We could establish within the Department of Justice someone who reviewed all regulations and possibly legislation for its impact on future generations and wrote up an analysis of that and submitted it to legislators or to regulators, so both branches of government. We could engage the third branch of government by designating special masters in courts to determine what the impact of certain court decisions would be on the rights of future generations and how it might impact them, especially in areas around climate change or things that have a direct impact on what the future will bring. There's so many visionary things that both Hungary and Wales have done. One of the most striking things that I learned about the Hungary Ombudsman is that they looked at long-standing institutions like universities and then identified seeds that, or plants and other things that they wanted to turn over to future generations. And so they planted some of these fruit trees and other things at universities, which in some cases have been there for 600 years. And so those were places that are long-standing, that future generations will, in all likelihood, inherit. And so there are a lot of visionary things that we can employ that would pass on intact the plants, the animals, the ecosystems, the ideas, all of the things that future generations will need